maybe in a couple of years, a former teammate of Russell Wilson's has a podcast. And maybe on that podcast, we'll hear a little bit of the truth about what the guy thinks of Russell Wilson. And I say that because Patrick Peterson, now with the Vikings, previously with the Cardinals, does a podcast with former Steelers cornerback Bryant McFadden. And this week, the topic of Peterson's former team, the Cardinals, came up. Peterson had some interesting comments about Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray. Take a listen.
Vocally, Kyler Murray is talking about, and I don't like how he's doing that. I think he should keep some things privately, but it tells me he doesn't care about his head coach. And he's putting everything on the head coach, basically saying
Kyler Murray don't care about nobody but Kyler Murray. That's just a matter of the fact.
I got it. I can't argue. I don't know him personally. You played with him for a few years, so I got to take your word for it.
Bryant McFadden's response reminded me of a moment where, and I'm not going to use any specific examples, but there are times, whether it's me or whether it's you, where there are things that we know each other believe but aren't likely to say into a microphone. And then there's that moment where we just say, screw it, we're saying it. McFadden's reaction was, oh, I never thought this guy was going to say this, but he did.
Yeah, I know. We've talked about this a lot behind the scenes, but I didn't think he'd ever say it on camera, right? That's kind of his reaction was. Or and then he did the acting of, oh, I don't know, you played team, you're a teammate of his at one point and not me, so it's funny. These are things that you and I have heard, throughout the last 2 years, right? There's no doubt about that. I think it's some of the older players that were on the Cardinals football team when Kyler first got there that were, I don't know, offended, taken back by his bravado. The fact that, yes, they did roll out the red carpet for him. He was the one that knew the offense more than the veterans, so he's teaching them and probably standing on a pedestal about it a little bit either way. These are things that you and I have heard, and now we're slowly starting to trickle out a little bit. The one thing I'll say I don't love about it, Mike, and it's a little bit like Russell Wilson earlier in the year. It just, why does this stuff always have to happen when things are going down as a player? It's like now he's down as a player and the play's not good, so now I can crap on him as the personal. Like, why doesn't any of this stuff ever come out or people say this when he's kicking butt last year and they're 10-1? That's what bothers me at times is people pile on, but this is certainly something that's out there, and I think a lot of people think is real in the NFL circles.
There was a segment on the ESPN Monday Night pregame show prior to the Cardinals 49ers in Mexico City, and Larry Fitzgerald came as close as he ever has to actually saying something. And I love for Larry Fitzgerald, but he doesn't say anything. He came very close to saying some stuff by praising Colt McCoy's leadership, work ethic, attention to detail in a conversation they were having about what's wrong with Kyler Murray. And it was obvious that Larry Fitzgerald has some feelings that would be similar to Patrick Peterson's, if not stronger. And you and I have constantly heard that one of the big reasons Larry Fitzgerald walked away and never came back was because of Kyler Murray. And not just Kyler Murray, but the attitude and the demeanor of the younger players coming into the league. And I guess that's going to always be part of our reality. The older guys feel like it's different now. And then those guys are going to be old, and the young guys are going to come in, and it's different now. But that segment really got my attention, and obviously Peterson coming out and saying what he said yesterday. But you're right. It's crickets when they're 10-1. And I mean, what's Patrick Peterson going to say last year? The Vikings were horrible. It's very easy when you're 9-2 and the Cardinals are circling the drain to be the guy that throws the grenades. It's very easy, and it's tempting. It's far more tempting to do it then than when the Cardinals are really good and your team is really bad.
Right, and I think we saw little inklings of this, right, when the Cardinals played the Vikings a few weeks ago. Patrick Peterson had the interception, and he took some moments to kind of troll Kyler Murray, right? I mean, the Minnesota Vikings did, doing the Buddha thing and then playing video games in one of the touchdown celebrations. Way to go, guys. This is what I was talking about. Yeah, I mean, this was so that to me was again even a little warning of like, oh, that crossed over. Like, look at Patrick Peterson. He put the headset on and then he was playing the games. Because I mean, that to me is something like of a line you don't really cross in the NFL. That shows me there was some personal animosity there. He wanted to show him that. We'll see. Now I will say, Mike, right? I love how Kyler Murray defended himself last night, and I would love to show that tweet there, but I think it was
there it is.
Kind of cool how he fired back. And go ahead, I'll let you read it, Mike.
This isn't true. You're on some weird shit at P2. You got my number. If you really felt like this is a big bro or mentor, you're supposed to call me and tell me, not drag me, so your podcast can grow. That's Kyler Murray. And I wonder how much he thought about his response and whether he talked to anybody about it before he did it. I was surprised. I thought he'd just let it go. I thought he'd go high road. He's got his contract. He's got paid. He's won the game of life. But, he probably felt blindsided by what Peterson said. Yes. Because I think that to the extent that Kyler Murray has personality traits that may have rubbed the Patrick Petersons and the Larry Fitzgeralds of the world the wrong way, I'm not sure Kyler Murray is aware of it. And I'm not sure anybody has ever said anything to him about it directly. And that's his point. If you got an issue with me, why don't you tell me? If you want to help me grow, if you want to help me mature, if you want to help me develop, don't talk about me behind my back. Come to me and tell me what I need to do. Lead me, show me. I'm just a kid. I'm trying to find my way through this league. I don't know what to do. There's no manual. That's what you're supposed to be doing if you're my big bro or if you're my mentor. So that's his message, and I think there's some accuracy to it.
I think there is too. And, I think he found just the right touch of, like, it wasn't a low blow. He kind of took the high road and was classy and just said some real things. Like, by putting that in quotes, like, you're supposed to be my bro or my mentor. Big bro or I'm sure Patrick Peterson said some things like that to him when he was there playing with him. So he's like, wait, what the hell? Now you're taking shots at me? I thought you were my big bro or my mentor. So I like that he threw it back into Patrick Peterson's face that way a little bit. And, Mike, I like your other points. I was going to go there, too. One, it's the young generation. They're a little different. There's no doubt about it. I mean, damn. And I can't imagine growing up in this generation with the social media and being obsessed and having to look at yourself and everything you do is documented everywhere. It's not easy. And we're not used to the Patrick Petersons, the Larry Fitzgeralds of the world. They're not used to quarterbacks maybe being that way. Quarterbacks are usually kind of like, just maybe not as bravado and cocky as a Kyler Murray, or coming to the league saying, hey, you got to run this route and run that route. They kind of find maybe a more diplomatic way, and maybe that rubbed people the wrong way. But I think your point about, I wonder if anybody's really ever told Kyler Murray is the first thing, and I think about this a lot with Kyler Murray, because he's another guy that I would look at to go, I think the red carpet or rose petals have been at his feet his whole life because he's just such a phenomenal athlete. So nobody told him some of these things. Oh, at high school, wait, we don't ever lose a game. You're amazing. You're running them out of it. Everybody's telling me you're the freakiest guy they've ever seen. So nobody says some of those things to address maybe some of his problems. Goes to Oklahoma, it's the same thing. Hey, he's winning. He's Heisman. He's making plays all over the place, and then you get to the NFL and you're the king of the castle as soon as you walk through the door. I wouldn't doubt that that's totally off base, Mike, that he's never had somebody to kind of, hey, dude, you don't say that or don't do that. That's not the way the quarterback acts. That's not the way you treat another man, whatever. I don't know what the problems are, but I wouldn't doubt that your little theory there isn't correct, because I had a similar thought. I really did. And I've seen that happen in NFL world and superstars and how they're kind of groomed at times when they're special at a young age. It certainly can happen.
My take on Kyler Murray has always been he's a little shy, he's reserved, he's respectful, he keeps to himself, he's happy keeping to himself. He's not a vocal leader, and that's fine. There aren't many quarterbacks who are like Peyton Manning and will stand up and take charge. And he's being true to who he is. This is a great juxtaposition. Kyler Murray has always been his authentic self, and there may be some things about his authentic self that will rub people the wrong way if they don't know him and understand him. And I think that's why he's hurt by this more than anything else. Here's a guy who was my teammate for 2 years, and he knows who I am. He has a pipeline to me and had a pipeline to me if there was anything that I was doing that maybe I shouldn't do. I mean, you got a young guy that's maybe out partying too much. Somebody says you may want to ease up a little bit. You have a young guy that's doing something else that's problematic. You may want to not do that. And that's what, I mean, we're on the same page with this. It screams through his tweet. Like, hey, man, we spent plenty of time working together, being together, traveling together, talking together. If you think I'm a selfish person and the only person I care about is myself, I mean, you had plenty of chances to tell me, or at least give me an indication that you feel that way, not after you're gone and we've moved on. And it's a shame. And it all boils down to being who you are, being authentic, not just when you're talking into a microphone at a press conference, but in your interactions with people as well. I mean, people are phony in different ways. They're phony with what the public sees. They're also phony in their relationships with each other. And there may be some phoniness that now Kyler Murray is detecting as it relates to Patrick Peterson. And he may feel the same way about Larry Fitzgerald, because I guarantee you, whatever Larry Fitzgerald thought about Kyler Murray, I guarantee you he never went to him and told it to him to his face.
No, I would have a hard time thinking he did either. I would. And, again, he's got a head coach who believes in him and has been, really, a fan of his and awe of him ever since he was in high school. So maybe he has nobody that's leading him in that direction there. But again, obviously Kyler Murray's young and there's some adjustments he has to make, as far as being a professional. We've heard some things here. He's still extremely talented and special in a lot of ways. And, you put Kyler Murray in a good situation or the right situation, and I think you're crazy to think that he can't do some awesome stuff on the football field. Again, I don't know if the situation's quite right. I don't think the support system's quite right. I don't think a whole lot of that offense there in Arizona. It's very simple. But again, if we don't think Kyler Murray couldn't do some of the things that Tua could if he was on the Miami Dolphins, people are insane. Or if he couldn't do, some of the stuff we see Jalen Hurts do with the Philadelphia Eagles and had that team and offense around him, you're insane. This is still a really talented guy. Yeah, he might have some flaws to work on, certainly. But I think and you're right in a lot of ways, or at least that's the way I see it. I don't see a bad guy. Maybe a guy that's spoiled because he's been such a superstar and a freak of nature his whole life. But I think he's really a good guy, competitive guy, and he expects to be special every time he walks on the field. And when that doesn't happen, maybe he could adjust his body language and not pout or do some of that stuff that we don't like at times, or it looks like he's pouting or disgruntled. But again, those are fixable things that, I'm the least worried about him being able to kind of overcome some of that stuff, because of the hard stuff he's good at already. And that's the stuff on the field that takes a lot of talent.
We are beginning to stray beyond the allotted time that we have for this segment, but there's one more point that I think is important to make. The entire conversation between Patrick Peterson and Brian McFadden emerged from the question of who takes the fall for the disaster that is the Cardinals this year, and they were talking that it's going to be Cliff Kingsbury, the head coach. And I know that Kingsbury has the extension through 2027. I still think there is a lot of fugazi in the Steve Keim and Cliff Kingsbury contract extension that kind of fell out of the sky through 2027. I think that was an effort to just kind of take the heat out of the hot kitchen, calm things down, and I would be shocked if it was a gigantic extension, and I would be shocked if every penny of it is guaranteed. And I think Kingsbury's in real trouble. And the points you were making about Kyler Murray in the Mike McDaniel offense, right? Kyler Murray in any offense other than a system that isn't driven by matchups, that isn't driven by film study and getting ahead of what the defense knows you do, where you're taking advantage of what the defense does. You're adjusting your system to suit the defense you're facing and exploiting their flaws. You get a coach in there who does that, you may have something. And I don't think Michael Bidwell would ever pay Sean Payton, and I don't know that Sean Payton would ever want to work with Kyler Murray because maybe he thinks he can't get through to him either. But you get somebody like a Sean Payton who approaches the game that way, you get yourself a very different Kyler Murray.
I don't disagree with that. I don't. I think when young quarterback plus young coach who doesn't really know NFL life and how to do that, that can lead to some moments that we're seeing right here. Sean Payton or somebody like that, I think, would be just what the doctor ordered for Kyler Murray. I think Sean Payton could be the guy that could kind of lay out some of those things that we've talked about during this segment to go, he could find the right touch and how to, teach him to be a better leader or make the veterans like him a little bit more. If all these things we hear out here with Patrick Peterson or Larry Fitzgerald are real, right? That's where, hey, we're watching film and, hey, Drew used to say this to the guys every now and then, and Drew used to do this, and that'll start to wear off. And then he starts to show plays. Hey, listen, you do this, and then you check to this like I'm teaching you. Look at all the success we had at this play in New Orleans, and you buy in that way. Again, and I'm with you, Mike. It's hard to think that Cliff Kingsbury would not be in trouble a little bit with the way that the year has unfolded. The fact that they've made it all about Kyler Murray and that offense, and that has not delivered at all, would make me think that, yeah, there's a little trouble there in Arizona.
And I really do think there's a way Peyton could unlock Murray's potential and get him to want to achieve and turn that potential into performance. And, it's as simple as starting a conversation with, do you want to be great? And then taking it from there. And I don't know that he's getting that kind of coaching or that he has gotten it during his time in the NFL. Let's go ahead and take a break. Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.